internet. All right, folks, a little bit of technical difficulties getting fired up here. I meant to get it going on X as well. X isn't letting me fire up the live session, but we're going to go on YouTube. We're here on TikTok. It's going to be an absolute pleasure here. Important session here tonight. Wall Street jumps on the XRP train. Now, they've been on the XRP train. They've been very quiet about getting on the XRP train. They've been very quiet about stacking gold. They've been very quiet about putting themselves in a position to take advantage of the greatest transfer of wealth in world history. And like I said, it's up to us to figure out how to get on the right side of this transfer. In tonight's update, we're talking about the current events. We're going to get into cryptocurrency, some legislation, some actions from the SEC. Always got to, keep them in check here. It's an ongoing battle here in the United States for a level playing field. Worldwide, you find yourself in a different situation as well. What is an absolute pleasure here is to bring folks in from across the world, common mission and purpose. Let's get locked in. Let's stay locked in. And he who gets focused first and stays focused longest will win most. That's what my mentor, Dan Pena, says. And so that's what we're here to do here every single day, dropping you guys content. Please continue to drop comments down below, good, bad. You guys tell me where you disagree. Tell me what you love. But please, I try to read all the comments. I try to block out all the scammers. Make sure you guys are watching out for the scammers as we head into the next phase of this bull run. You're going to need to look out. The scams are going to be running rampant. And so protect yourself, protect your family, protect your investments. That's what we're here to do. And we got to stack as much of this funny fiat money as possible wherever you find yourself, whatever local currency you're stacking to pay bills and bring it home for the family. It's just a fact across the board here. We're going to have to stack more and more of it to be able to live a comfortable life. Excuse me. Now, without further ado, I want to get started here by taking a look at these markets. What just happened today for XRP? You guys know the news. Well, here's what happened on the charts. We went up to 58 cents for XRP. Taking a look at this thing, nearly at 59. Basically 589, funny enough. XRP goes to 589 on the day that Wall Street shows up again. Now, Wall Street's been on the train, but now they're announcing it. Now they're making it public. A little bump to 58 cents. Is it anything to get excited about? Well, absolutely not, unless you're a short-term trader that's scalping 5, 10, 15% moves. And cheers to those who are accomplishing those trades. God bless you. Glad to see you making money. When it comes to Bitcoin, it was back above 58,000 here today. And this is the focus, is all on crypto, all on the stocks. Meanwhile, gold is setting new all-time highs. You want to see a beautiful chart. An asset that we've been talking about. An asset that we were made fun of. I want to remind everybody how much crap I have received for only talking about gold. Not telling anybody you need to go buy it. Of course, I have a couple affiliate links. I want to be able to hook up my people. And what I try to source is the best resources for our community. That's what I try to do. But I have never said you need to buy gold. And I've always said, what am I buying? I've shown you guys. And when it comes to the move in these metals, gold is shining here first. Silver set to follow, in my opinion. I've always been transparent with you guys, and yes, I am very bullish on the fundamentals. I haven't stacked any gold yet, and I'm missing the gold train. I titled this one the XRP train. I've missed the gold train while talking about it for the last couple years. You're not going to win every one. You're not going to make every deal. That's part of this program. That's part of continuing to move forward. Miss Bitcoin, miss gold. That's fine. Were we still making money? That's the point. Is XRP still set up to perform incredibly well this bull run? That's the setup. That's the program. Let's get into current events here. We'll tie it back into markets, and I do want to do Q&A at the end of this session. So much has been taking place, and the reason why I'm coming here late night is because, well, normally I come here late night anyways. I did have to travel down to Seattle today. I wanted to shoot content down there, but there was already too much traffic, and so I had to get out of there. So no content down there in the city, although I was observing, I was taking a look at what's going on down there. Pretty incredible. And we're going to talk about that right here, bringing it back home to start off with the current events. Take a look at it, folks. ABC whistleblower allegedly will release an affidavit claiming that the Harris campaign was given sample questions that were essentially the same questions that were given during the debate, as well as assurances that Trump would be fact-checked and she would not. I'm just reporting on this. Apparently an ABC whistleblower. I'm going to continue to follow up, and as this is a breaking update earlier today that this just came out earlier this morning. And so once again, I'm just reporting the news. You guys let me know in the comments down below what you think of this situation. But Senator Richard Blumenthal, adding to it, says the new report on Trump's situation, I'm not even going to say the words, will shock the American people. What took place to Trump in Pennsylvania, battleground state, so important. What took place there and the failure of Secret Service, that's set to come on out in a report. And this is a Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal. And what do I always mention? Issues that we can all come together on. Has the program been a success or a failure? How's your program working out? When it comes to what took place in that event, it's a failure. When it comes to what just took place in the debate, it's sad because it's a reflection of where we're at as a country, where we're more focused on how are we divided as far as personal issues versus policy that's actually addressing problems, bringing accountability, and providing solutions and executing a plan, getting something done. There's a big difference about talking about it and executing a plan successfully, thoroughly, following through. Now, we're also watching this closely. Trump's sentencing of his hush money case in New York has been postponed. It was dated for September 18th. And I'd already been talking about, we're watching this date. It's, Jerome Powell's coming to give us the decision on interest rates. And then we're also watching Trump's sentencing was set to be that day. It's now been put till after the election. But we're watching, there's an interesting, strong National Guard military presence already in place in New York. And this comes at a time here where the New York Police Department Commissioner, Edward Cabin, has just resigned, according to ABC. ABC reporting that the New York Police Commissioner, Edward Cabin, has resigned, leading up to what is going to be one of the most interesting election cycles throughout this country and within these cities. There's a very interesting thing taking place across this country, in particular these cities, which is why I mentioned I had to travel down to Seattle today. I'm talking about what's going on in this country is very interesting, and I'm being very nice when I say that, right? It's a very interesting setup. Now, as far as policies that will lead to something happening, here's one. Very interesting one. Trump says he will end all taxes on overtime. That's a policy. What's going to be the reaction of that? Well, that's great news, right? Less taxes to this DC beast, right? This bureaucracy beast that's way ahead of itself, needs to be reined way back in, something that we should all agree upon. And definitely at a point where before we expand any further, we have to correct, we have to bring justice and accountability for what has been done wrong. And we're just talking about laws, breaking law. We got to have law and order in this country. And there's a particular group in this country, an enemy, that's willing to go to incredible lengths to stay in power. Very interesting setup here. Now, Trump saying that he's going to end all taxes on overtime, that's immediately going to bring a positive response to the American workers, which is who really funds this country. And it's the small businesses, right? The small businesses throughout this land. It's not just the Magnificent Seven. America is so much more than the Magnificent Seven, and that's the disconnect that you see from Wall Street to Main Street, is that America is not the Magnificent Seven. Is America, by and large, everybody's invested in the Magnificent Seven? Yes, absolutely. An interesting stock to take a look at now is going to be Palantir, because it's now being added to the S&P 500. And this is typically now going to be a bullish, sentiment catalyst for this stock, because the major indices are bought across the board by all of Wall Street, all the mutual funds. Everybody has to have the S&P 500, some Dow, some NASDAQ, and some Magnificent Seven, right? Everybody's piled in. There's no breadth. It's all Magnificent Seven that's been leading the S&P. The weight there is leaned towards the Magnificent Seven and a few other stocks. And that is not, that's why it's crazy that the talking head pundits are acting like everything's okay just because these stocks are doing well. These stocks are not our economy. They're a reflection of a part of our economy. Do they make up a big part of our economy? Absolutely. But when you bring policies to the American workers, those that are producers, those that are builders, you allow them to pay less tax. That's bullish. Very simply put, that's a bullish policy for the American people. That puts us, one step in the right direction. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if Kamala follows on this policy as well, because I've been waiting to get more policies from the Kamala campaign. Few and far between, if I'm being honest with you. I've been waiting to cover them, few and far between. Now, Peter Schiff makes a good point here, though. With gold trading at 2,557, its total market cap is 17.2 trillion. Folks, when you think about the asset gold being at a $17 trillion market cap right now, how powerful that is. The market cap bros can take a look at this one right here, especially when we compare it to Bitcoin. With gold trading at 2,557, its total market cap is 17.2 trillion, up 5.7 trillion so far in 2024. With Bitcoin trading at 58,400, its total market cap is 1.1 trillion. That means that gold's 2024 market cap gain is already 5 times Bitcoin's total market cap. That's the difference between a mature asset, a real flight to safety, versus what is perceived by some to be a store of value in Bitcoin, and by some it is debated. And I am one that debates how big of a store of value it's going to end up being. Now, in the meantime, I'm one for freedom. I'm one for, if you love Bitcoin, God bless you. Use Bitcoin. It's a little bit slower. Maybe you guys can use some centralized Lightning networks and layer 2s to scale it up. That's great. Have fun. Folks want to use Bitcoin Cash. They got the real Bitcoin over there, right? And I just, I'm about partway through, over halfway through with Roger Ver's book, Hijacking Bitcoin, the whole story about Bitcoin Cash. In full transparency, I think I bought just a little bit of Bitcoin Cash because I said I'm going to start watching this closer if I buy some. So I bought a very small amount. But I'm learning the story about Bitcoin Cash now, getting caught up on that. But hey, to each their own. What we need, in what I've been a proponent for, what our XRP community has been a proponent for, and what we need to see across our country here, especially with the leaders that we elect, is we need to bring forward laws to allow the marketplace to build, and then we get to decide as a marketplace who's going to be the winner. Just like we do in every other market, or we try to. We can talk about how corrupt our markets are, and we will be here shortly. But Donald Trump now says that, quote, we're embracing the future with crypto and leaving the slow and outdated big banks behind. He's promoting his new DeFi platform, which I don't understand why. And I'm being honest with you guys right here. Rug Radio.
September 16th.
I want to take a look.
The launch
Rug
of
Radio and World Liberty Financial
We're
present.
embracing the future.
I do not understand why President Trump is promoting this with a media company or an affiliate or somebody titled Rug Radio. It's just not a good look, Mr. President. With Mr. President, I just praised a couple of your policies here, but this move to partner up with somebody named Rug Radio when you're promoting your DeFi project is not the best look, right? It's not the best look. But hey, when it comes to the quote, we're embracing the future with crypto and leaving the slow and outdated big banks behind. Well, when you start to talk about some of these things, it's understandable. Well, I'm just going to be quiet before I say any more. But there's a reason why there's a group of people, elite banksters, that don't want, right? There's a reason why folks don't want Trump in. There's many people in the military-industrial complex. There's many people in other big business. that actually don't want Trump in. That's what's so interesting, is that while some folks tout to be the working class politicians candidate, right? It's been very interesting to watch. Once again, Dick Cheney and Goldman Sachs support Kamala, right? She said it in the debate. The Goldman Sachs supports her economic policies, whatever those are. We don't know what her economic policies are other than raise taxes. But other than that, I mean, now we have an opportunity. And she did state that she wants to offer, what was it, 50 grand? I'll have to check my notes. I took notes during the debate trying to catch what the policies were. But I mostly was just capturing the jabs back and forth and the ridiculous claims and statements, right? But when Trump talks here about moving away, leaving, when you talk about this, we're talking about what Rosie Rios said. Rosie Rios said the train has left the station. Trump gets it. I don't know if the other side I do believe that the other side gets it, but I believe that the other side, there's a reason why they've allowed Elizabeth Warren to be the face of speaking on the crypto issue. It's because they really just want to let it be controlled. And I believe that it's a big influence from the likes of Goldman Sachs, which is from her own mouth. That's her own statement. That's not me interjecting. That's just me stating what she said. Goldman Sachs and Dick Cheney support Kamala. Interesting. Weird flex. Right? I mean, what are we talking about here? We're about to see America opened up for business, though, in my opinion, no matter who does get elected. It's just going to be a matter of the power struggle over control. There already has been a move, an undercurrent in Wall Street to accumulate these assets on the low. I believe that's why there's been so many deals done with Ripple behind the scenes that are yet to be revealed and fulfilled and executed on, right? And what's about to happen is the United States is about to get opened up for business. We're going to have to fight over CBDCs. We're going to have to fight over self-custody. We're probably going to continue to see that the accredited investors, institutional investors, are getting access to products like Grayscale's XRP Trust, right? If you want to get access through Grayscale's XRP Trust that just got fired back up today, you got to be an accredited or institutional investor. So this is how backwards our capital markets are, where to get access, you're battling and trying to go through, delisted exchanges. It's a whole, battle just to get XRP in this country. Meanwhile, institutional and accredited investors get access to these products and protections under the law, according to Judge Torres' ruling, right? The sales to those investors was investment contracts, the institutional investors, but not to the programmatic sales to exchanges and other distributions. Now, this is the scoop here out of D.C. from Eleanor Terrett. Republican Tennessee Congressman John Rose, who sits on the Financial Committee, is introducing a new bill called the Bridge Digital Assets Act that would establish a joint advisory committee on digital assets between the SEC and CFTC. Now, the purpose of the committee, I'm told, would be for industry to provide both agencies with advice on their respective rules, regulations, and policies relating to digital assets. The committee would be made up of 20 private sector participants who represent different interests in the cryptocurrency space. Do you think that Ripple is going to be invited to that one? Do you think that Ripple is going to be present there? The current heavy-handed regulation by enforcement approach isn't working and is instead encouraging investment in this key innovation overseas, said Rose. The Joint Advisory Committee on Digital Assets will provide a framework for the government and private sector partners to cooperate on a path toward success for the regulatory landscape of digital assets and private sector participants. This is the bill that was just introduced here today. We are about to get opened up for business here in the United States. It's just a matter of fighting over a few of those issues. Eleanor Terrett, an email received by way of Freedom of Information Act request from Virtue Financial into the communications of Gary Gensler, revealed that the SEC's Director of Trading and Markets, Huangsheng Zhu, probably butchered it, but it's my attempt, then a prospective employee, marketed himself as being, quote, in the right place on the political spectrum. Oh, I didn't know that that was a qualification, a credential that they were looking for at the SEC, was being on the right place on the political spectrum. Interesting. He was then hired 6 months later. This email obtained by Virtue, became the basis for the investigation launched by Jim Jordan, James Comer, and Representative Patrick McHenry. Virtu Financial has been warring with the SEC since the agency sued the company for allegedly making misleading disclosure statements regarding safeguarding customer information. Their CEO, what's his name here? Doug Sifu, tells me, quote, sadly, this isn't surprising. I've repeatedly said that Gensler's agenda is more motivated by politics than by a genuine desire to improve markets, and the results of our Freedom of Information Act request, in this case, litigation, they had to sue for this, uncovered just that. This is what the red folder life is all about, guys. There's a lot of people that need to be getting a red folder across America as we bring cases and have to fight our way. Once again, we are getting attacked for just trying to do business in this country. In a statement to Fox Business, an SEC spokeswoman said, quote, Chair Gensler will respond to members of Congress directly. So that's what we get from the SEC. The other thing that we get, and I reported on this yesterday, was the SEC just served up a fine to Keurig. $1.5 million settlement with Keurig, or a penalty served up to Keurig for a misleading statement about how recyclable the K-Pods are. For your little Keurig, single-serve little K-Cups, they misled in their statements, in their reports, in their financial statements and disclosures. They lied about how effective the K-Pods could be recycled. They can be recycled, but they lied and misled about how effectively they can be recycled. I kid you not. This is where we're at in the United States of America right now. And when it comes in, when we start to dig in, do I need to get my red folder out? I think we might have to add to the red folder. And in fact, the red folder I keep tied to the XRP lawsuit in the XRP case. But when it comes to checking out the SEC, our good friend Cowboy Crypto says that this person is who they are referring to here in regards to Gensler's favoritism. Zhu was at MIT with Gensler when he was teaching blockchain in 2018. Would you go take a look at that one? Go figure. Now, this is why I actually love the show Billions. If you guys have seen the show Billions, you know what I'm talking about. The show highlights the financial markets, right? It's based off of a hedge fund. Bobby Axelrod is the hedge fund billionaire. And then Paul Giamatti plays the DOJ, Southern District of New York Attorney General. And it shows what really goes on in these markets, which is exactly what this is. This type of favoritism, this type of backdoor dealing, this type of, I was just in the right place on the political spectrum. Apparently, that's a qualification for any of you guys that are applying to work at the SEC, because maybe you want to actually, do your job at the SEC to actually, enforce the laws that have been passed by Congress in regards to our capital markets, right? If that's you, make sure, you include this fact, where you're at on the political spectrum. And maybe you can assume which side you need to be on or where you need to be at. I guess we don't need to guess when we know Gary Gensler was the criminal campaign CFO. Can't say her name. You guys know the deal. The corruption runs deep. We must continue to fight like hell, because what's happening right now is a continuation of the ETH free pass. They called us crazy. They called us lunatics. They called us whack jobs. The world is going to get to see the XRP Unleashed documentary is going to put it all together in a documentary style presentation that'll be easily, consumed, shared, and ready to go viral. And we're going to take the XRP story viral. You better believe that. It is still going on right now. This is part of the ETH3 pass in a settlement today announced with eToro, which note how everybody in this space, besides Coinbase, Ripple, and a few others, actually fight the SEC. Everybody else just takes it from the SEC and settles. But in this case, eToro is to limit crypto trading to comply with federal laws, settling up with the SEC, paying $1.5 million for unregistered broker activities. The SEC's message: follow the regulatory framework or face consequences. eToro will now restrict the U.S. customers to trading only Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Ether. Go figure. What about XRP? And I didn't even think about this until now. What about XRP? I don't know if eToro was on. I don't know if XRP was on eToro before this. You guys can let me know in the comments down below. Was XRP on eToro? Because why is XRP not listed? It's a secondary market. Why is it not listed? And we know it's not a security. The SEC's already taken that loss. Unless they're going to appeal that, why in this settlement is XRP not listed? Maybe they didn't have it on there originally. Maybe they didn't. You dive into this settlement a little bit further, though. The SEC is seeking headlines. They want the attention. It's all a big show. These settlements and the statements that they make are, once again, settlement terms and opinions is not law. Big difference. Terms of a settlement agreement and opinions and headlines shared after the fact, statements made after the fact, are simply that. It is not law. When you dive into this a little bit further, and I've disagreed with a lot of what Adam Cochran has said here on X. This guy's kind of silly when it comes to some issues. But in this regard, he dives into this and he makes some interesting points. The SEC settlement with eToro seems super weird at first and a bit alarming. Check this one out, guys. But it gets into a lot of nuance into how eToro operates. Unlike Coinbase, eToro doesn't offer just direct spot purchasing of crypto assets. Instead, like their traditional stock platform, they are occasionally operating the trades as if it's a contract for difference, CFD. So a contract for difference, which is similar to a mechanic of two users buying either side of a perpetual trade and settling the balance between them in USD. See how these games are played, folks? You see why I talk so much about getting away from counterparty risk? This was done with funds in an omnibus account, occasionally settled USD reconciliation. So every once in a while, they settled up. Every once in a while. And not always direct one-to-one buying of the spot assets. This certainly falls into the broker clearinghouse model. Okay, not a problem as long as you're registered. But here's what's dirty. As part of the settlement, the SEC required them to switch to listing only Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Ether, and then announced that, quote, by removing tokens offered as investments, they settled. Let's be clear. There were no tokens offered as investment contracts. There were securities based on the price of tokens offered as securities. Once again, these were securities. They were not trading the underlying asset always one-to-one. They had created their own security on their platform. But what is the headline that the SEC is running with, right? That they have to delist these tokens that are investment contracts. But there were no tokens offered as investment contracts. These were securities based on the price of tokens offered as securities settled in US dollars. Removing the tokens didn't make it compliant. Removing the securities did. Gary Gensler and Gerber Gerwal, SEC Enforcement Director, used this dirty trick repeatedly of finding a violation of a company needs to settle. So they find an issue where a company does trip up. They commit a speeding violation in the securities world. A $1.5 million settlement, rather small violation in this regard. Pales in comparison to the bankers like JP Morgan, which have paid tens of billions in fines since the early 2000s and since the great financial crisis. And have they ever been held accountable? No. But the SEC wants to chase headlines. They find a violation a company needs to settle, putting an unrelated listing clause in the legal settlement, framing it entirely different in the press release. They know that the orders can be challenged in court. but that the press release is not a legally bound order, but instead public opinion, just like I said. And so repeatedly, they parade fake victories that cast a chilling effect on the industry, right? Everybody runs around and gets all worried about this, right? When you dive in, you look at what's really going on here. They're citing their opinion offered up in a settlement agreement. This is not law. It can be battled out in the courts. And when it has been battled out in the courts, XRP in and of itself was not a security. Now, with these other coins, well, good luck, God bless to you. We've been saying this. We've been fighting. We've been calling out the SEC. We were called lunatics, whack jobs, and we just were trying to target Ethereum. No, it's just that Ethereum was the most corrupt. FTX might have beat them. But when you look at the token factor created on Ethereum, the ETH free pass, we believe, is actually bigger than FTX. That's what's crazy. Everybody's focused on FTX. He was the boogeyman that was sacrificed. Meanwhile, Ethereum, Vitalik. Who really backs Vitalik, by the way? And when I say that there's a smoking gun evidence ready to come out in this documentary, I am not hyping you. I am not clickbaiting you. I am being dead honest with you. TikTok, YouTube. I don't think that we made it on X tonight. I tried to go live on X tonight too. Had some issues. When I say that we have smoking gun evidence ready to come out in this documentary, and I pray that they come forward and actually release it, I pray that they come forward and actually release this, because this is smoking gun evidence that the SEC knew about what was going on, about who really controls Vitalik. I'm not at liberty to say more, but I'm not trying to overhype this thing. This documentary, I think, is ready to take XRP viral. It's going to shine the light, though, on ETHgate, which relates back to the SEC at a time when you're seeing investigations now brought forward by Congress, right, coming together, senators coming together, everybody pressing the SEC. Now we need to get past the point of writing letters. We need to get past the point of an investigation should have already been started. We're way past that point. And the hypocrisy here laid out by Adam Cochran very well in that thread that I just read off there, right? He finishes up by saying Congress should pass laws requiring the official communications of regulators to match the intent and facts of the legal position of their orders. You mean that they shouldn't be able to go give a free pass speech like Bill Hinman did, right? Without Congress passing laws, right? Or open these agencies up to libel when they make false PR claims that damage an industry. eToro's structure was an issue. The assets they offered were not. eToro created investment contracts. That's what this is all about. The oranges in and of themselves are not a security. All the way back to the Howey test and the orange groves, which is exactly what our securities laws are based on, is, what is it, an 80-year-old case about orange groves. What's so interesting about that is that the laws can be that simple, right? The precedent that went to the Supreme Court, in this case, the Howey test that was created from an orange grove, right, that was sold as an investment contract. It wasn't the orange groves, wasn't the oranges. It was the way that it was packaged up, which is exactly what eToro was doing, which is exactly what all these exchanges are doing. And all these exchanges tout new products to have for you, don't they? And I've always said that we got to be able to be critical of these exchanges. Even though I've had the CEO of Uphold on, I've also said, hey, Uphold's given us some issues in the past. Issues finding liquidity on some pumps, and we need to see that. I talked about that with Simon last time we had him on, right? And he said that their systems got hit 50 times greater than the peak of the previous bull run. That was last year on the news of the Judge Torres summary judgment ruling, July 13th. XRP in and of itself is not a security. Every exchange went bust as XRP was about to blast through $1. Talk about suppression, right? When you literally can't get access to the asset at all. And just, they've done this time and time again. These exchanges are not our friend, but we do need to conduct business with them. And I do, have multiple options myself set up for this coming bull run. Something that I talked about in my XRP exit strategy video that I just dropped, right? having multiple relationships with exchanges, just like we have multiple bank accounts, multiple banks that we work with, multiple lenders, multiple assets, right? Not just diversified in 50 different cryptos. We got our precious metals for defense. We go risk on with crypto, looking at private equity, looking at real estate, getting diversified amongst the asset classes while still being prepped for whatever else they're going to throw our way. Now, I want to get into this because you actually have to look across. There's still some folks in the legal fields, legal professionals, that still don't agree, that think that Judge Torres made a bad ruling, that XRP in and of itself was a security. But when it comes to the New York State Bar, they have concluded and understand Judge Torres' ruling as meaning that XRP is not inherently a security as a victory for Ripple and a cognizable path forward. They do mention concern that the SEC seems to have abandoned security designation as a fact-specific test, which is exactly what we just looked at in the eToro case. The facts of how eToro offered those assets was an investment contract, not the crypto that underlined the contract itself. Big difference. The same precedent set forward in XRP. Now, this is the New York State Bar, same state where Standard Custody had the New York DFS approved license to be a trust company within the state. Ripple makes the acquisition. Now we understand the New York State Bar comes to an understanding with a path forward that the SEC at this point is going to go on a fact-specific test for each individual case, for each individual crypto. They're trying not to. They had to in the XRP lawsuit. In other lawsuits like the exchanges, in other lawsuits like eToro, right, they're going after the platform, not necessarily the underlying asset, but it doesn't stop them from twisting the headline to say that all of these assets were investment contracts. That's not the case. Now, this is why we're so set up right here is, one, the legal aspect, two, what I'm about to show you, what the developers are working on with the XRP ledger and how massive this is. And then the third part that I'm going to show you guys is the response from Brad Garlinghouse to the Wall Street Trust coming live. Grayscale Trust going live. Grayscale XRP Trust, sorry. First, it's the legal advantage. Next, it's the layer one improvements, utility, smart contract functions, and programmability that's coming to the XRP ledger. Completely decentralized at the layer one protocol level with no reliance on other, anybody else other than interfaces that have been created for these platforms like the AMM platforms, right? You got XP Market, you got Anados Finance, you got a bunch of others, right? All of these are interfaces for the ledger that has been adding and is going to continue to add more programmability and tools for our developers and builders. But what's getting added to the XRP ledger is allowing for compliance for institutions. What is also happening is the same tools are handed off to small little Joe Blow, little Joe Schmo on the street. It's the same tools as the institutions. I'm about to show you this setup gets very interesting here. Vet is retweeting out here Mayuka from Ripple. Huge shout out to Mayuka for introducing 2 new XRP ledger specs focused on permissioning and compliance. These are massive, folks. XRP ledger proposal XLS 81 and 80 for permission DEX. This is absolutely necessary for institutions to only fill, for example, orders of KYC AML accounts. We need this to bring them not only on chain, but so that they can also transact. So what this is, we have a decentralized exchange that's built into the XRP ledger already. But for these institutions to actually use these DEXs, they need sometimes private, right? They need a walled garden version so that they can have some privacy, or at least that's what they want, right? They don't want to put everything on public blockchains. So sometimes they need privacy. Sometimes they build out networks amongst themselves. And in this case, what's building out right here is the ability to create permission dexes on the XRP ledger. So when we read this off, it says decentralized exchanges are revolutionizing finance due to their ability to offer significant benefits such as intermediary elimination, lower transaction costs, enhanced security, and user asset custody. Folks, this is be your own bank. This is the vision and aspirations of DeFi in its most purest form. And our ledger's actually going to work, not break every other week like Solana and some of these other ones. These advantages align perfectly with the growing demand for efficient financial systems. However, a major hurdle hinders wider adoption by traditional institutions. The anonymity of a DEX makes it difficult to comply with AML and KYC. This challenge highlights a critical need for the development of a permission system within DEXs. Such a system would allow institutions to adhere to regulations while still benefiting from the core advantages of blockchain technology. Here's where this goes next, folks, is that the institutions are getting ready. They've been lined up and primed by Ripple to start moving liquidity that does tap into the public AMM liquidity pools. I think that Ripple is going to be one of the first to lead that charge when they introduce that Ripple stablecoin. But the ability for permissioned access, permissioned dexes, and the ability to verify all of these things within compliance, at the same time we're getting decentralized identity added to the XRP ledger, which would allow you and would protect the privacy that we all want with blockchain, would be covered through decentralized identity. And basically what would be seen or interacted with on the exchange level, that can vary, right? But this would allow institutions to come in. It's just like clawbacks. Some of these amendments, they don't sound so sexy. It doesn't appear like this is going to be the one that takes us to the moon, right? Because everybody just wants price action. It's like when Ripple announced that they wanted to consider smart contracts. And I make a couple videos about it, and folks are commenting about price. It's like, this is not a video about price. Maybe at some point in the video I talked about price. You know, usually we check the markets, but this is not about, oh, a conversation's going to pump XRP today. An amendment's going to pump XRP as soon as it's introduced. Look at the AMM. It's taken us some time here to build up over $10 million of total value lockup. I think the most recent numbers is over 13 or 14 million. Now we need to be in the billions. We need to get billions in our AMM, right? We need to get billions flowing on our DEX. Not all of the flows of liquidity on the XRP ledger are going to be on the AMM. You have to understand that. The AMM will just make the margins tighter, will make the DEX tighter. And these institutions will now be set up to be in compliance when they come use the XRP ledger, and they'll be able to deploy their developers that they have unlimited budget for. We need more developers on the XRP ledger. Never been a concern of mine. Never been a concern of mine. Institutional investors haven't been able to park up in here and invest, and nobody's been able to, basically integrate this into their business without worrying about violating securities laws in this country. As soon as that's allowed, there's plenty of money to go around to hire developers. There's going to be more than enough money. And that's why our space has been blown up on a bunch of projects that are just scams and rug pulls. You have developers that are working on pumping scams, literally. That's, 90% of the cryptocurrency space is we got plenty of developers. They're just scamming. And then we got plenty of other developers that work for these companies, software engineers, coders, whatever you want to do. Now we got AI that's working for them too. And when they are ready, when they have the green light, when they can interact with these ledgers in a compliant manner, well, the spigot gets turned back on, and then the volume only grows from there. The spigot doesn't turn off. The volume just continues to grow from there. And a flood of liquidity shows up on the ledgers that can be within compliance, where networks are built out for payments and liquidity, and where real-world assets get tokenized. Missy coming through. Appreciate you for the super chat. I did see that I did miss a super chat from Dennis. Dennis, thank you so much. Today's new proposed crypto bill takes too dang long. Would like to know who all in Congress are contributing to writing it. True. Kamala wants to keep the Ukraine-Russia war going. Okay, that's what Dennis said. I didn't say that. Dennis said it. You guys can fact check Dennis in the comments down below. I'm trying to get the pronunciation right of Kamala. That's all I'm trying to work on over here. Now, let's continue on. I do have my adult beverage. I hope you have something to enjoy this session here tonight. We just hit the 45-minute mark. Final point coming up, and then let's go into Q&A. You can start dropping comments, questions down below. And if you guys haven't already, please make sure you like this video if you appreciate what we're doing, or if you don't like what we're doing, make sure you hit the thumbs down and drop a comment. Tell me how you really feel. First point was legal advantage. Legal advantage has been achieved. New York State Bar is recognizing the achievement in that understanding that I just laid out for you guys. Next, developers. We were behind. Now we're about to have it, and it's going to be in compliance, completely decentralized on layer 1. Competitive advantage right there. Number 3, the institutions are showing up. I assume, I speculate. Let's be very clear. Make the caveat, put the asterisk right here. This is my opinion, and I speculate with the evidence of 1,700 plus contracts, cited 41 plus partners that bought XRP, right? 41 counterparties that bought XRP in the lawsuit. That's documentation that we have, right? That there was some institutional investors that wanted some XRP. The greatest example is R3, and nothing will beat it until we see a bigger deal come along. But R3 wanted 5 billion XRP. If you're new to this community and you don't know about R3, you need to understand what happened. There's an institution called R3 that wanted to acquire 5 billion XRP from Ripple. Please do not tell me that institutions are not interested in XRP. There's massive interest, as reflected by Grayscale launching the XRP Trust back up. Recall, Grayscale already had this trust. The XRP Trust was live, before the lawsuit. When the lawsuit went live, they dropped it. Now, XRP has already been added back to Grayscale's large cap fund. Their large cap fund, XRP has already been added back. That happened after we got the ruling last year. Grayscale adds XRP back to the large cap fund. It's about 2% of that fund. Now, sorry, TikTok's wanting me to verify that I'm still live. I don't know why TikTok can't recognize that I'm still ranting and raving. Christy, I appreciate you so much for the 20 spot. Missy, Dennis, everybody else in the chat. I see so many familiar faces here tonight. Please drop your comments, questions down below, and let me know what you think. What's happening here? Grayscale firing back up this XRP fund, and this is exactly what they did with their Bitcoin trust, is they rolled it on into the Bitcoin ETF. Recall what happened there. Grayscale had the largest ETF when they went live because they had the most amount of assets under management at the time. It was for accredited investors, institutional investors. Retail couldn't get access. Once again, who's getting protected here? Because retail doesn't get access till an ETF gets launched. That's how rigged Wall Street is. That's how they're keeping you out. That's how they're keeping you from buying more XRP and some of these other digital assets. You can't buy these assets in some of your, there's more products that are coming along to allow 401ks and IRAs to buy crypto, but it's been difficult, right? Now they're about to go live here. This is the next step towards an ETF. Recall, people tried to say, a lot of people have been still trying to tell me that there's not going to be an XRP ETF because they think that XRP is a currency or a commodity or a digital asset. And so they don't think that it can be put in an ETF. As I've stated before, anything can be put in an ETF. A trading strategy can be put in an ETF. There's a breakfast ETF that buys companies that produce breakfast products. Sausage, eggs, ham. Literally, a breakfast ETF. oil, corn, commodities, currencies, trading strategies, whatever you want, you can put in an ETF. XRP will be put in an ETF. And one of the comments that Brad made in regards to this is that this was inevitable, although he acts surprised. Although he put this meme up, this response here, and I forget where this interview was recorded. I don't know if this was with the Pompliano. This might have been the Pompliano interview. I forget. I'm going to have to go back and check what this is from. This is so epic, though. Brad Garlinghouse with the surprised face. Not quite it gives a little O face, right? Doesn't open it up the mouth too much, but little O face action from Brad Garlinghouse. And darn it, I totally missed the perfect clickbait opportunity. I should have hit Brad Garlinghouse's O face in the thumbnail. What was I thinking? Darn it. But what you see here is Brad Garlinghouse acting surprised on the XRP trust going live once again. Was pleasantly surprised to see this news, though inevitable as well. As I've said before, the XRP having regulatory clarity in the US and other countries, I expect it's only a matter of time for this space to grow. Now, this is the comment that I made earlier here today. I responded, I retweeted, I said, what a funny guy. Brad knows that BlackRock comes next. And this is where this heads next, folks. And what I was starting to say before I lost my train of thought was when the Grayscale ETF got launched for Bitcoin, it had the most assets under management, but then it all went to BlackRock because BlackRock had the lowest fees, the greatest incentives for you to come on board, where they were doing like no upfront fees, come on board for free and limited fees for a certain amount of time, right? So everybody went to BlackRock and some of the other providers of the ETFs versus Grayscale, which had one of the higher costs at the time. And Grayscale, this is why they're going to be battling over this space. You have to understand, Grayscale was able to have a higher fee because they were the only ones in town, right? They were the only bar in town. So they got the business. They were able to charge the higher fees. Wall Street is going to be fighting over control of these products and these assets. Who gets to have the assets under management? And what was so interesting is that Grayscale had it. They had the assets under management. ETF goes live, market dumps, and we see record inflows into the BlackRock ETF fund. And basically you have folks moving from Grayscale and others to BlackRock, and you do have new folks coming in and getting exposure to Bitcoin, choosing BlackRock and some of the others when you look at the list of who has the most assets under management. And that's the spot that we're now in with Bitcoin, is that Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that is, right, has the most amount of Bitcoin, apparently. And then the list down from that is literally governments and hedge funds. And just like with this product that's going live here with Grayscale, institutional accredited investors can get access to it, but not retail investors. Who's getting protection? Who's getting access to the assets that will run the new financial system? Institutional accredited, those that are in the know, those that are tapped in, which, by the way, we have about 5 million XRP wallets. Many people have multiple XRP wallets. Our community is literally in the millions. And there's a lot of people that come and go, by the way, if you haven't seen that. There's a lot of people that come and go. A lot of people that come and go in crypto in general. A lot of guys that ain't around anymore, are they? A little bit more quiet. We haven't left. We've stayed directly over the target in regards to the corruption in our capital markets that we had to expose because the SEC came after the XRP army and Ripple first. The greatest threat to the new financial system, they came after that first. As we stated here, as I showed you guys with the utilities, we're building out real DeFi. I don't know what Trump's doing with Rug Media. I don't think that that's a good look, but he's working with Rug Media and a couple other people on his new DeFi program. We'll see what it is. Very interesting. Coming out on September 17th. And when you look at XRP Ledger, though, right, we're building out a real ledger for DeFi all the way at an institutional level, completely compliant, all the way down to us little guys getting to participate in the public, deep, open public pools of liquidity, the same ones the institutions can tap into, the same ledger and DEX the institutions will tap into. And they're just beginning to show up. Grayscale is going to be making that money on this XRP ETF. We'll see how much demand they get. Now they would have had more demand if they would have allowed it to go on during the lawsuit, because it would have been another way for folks to get access to XRP. Institutional accredited investors, there's qualified buyers if you have over 5 million in assets. There's different qualifications that you can meet, right? But the point being, Grayscale could have been making a whole heck of a lot more money if they would have had some you-know-what and kept XRP listed, kept the XRP trust live during the lawsuit. And by the way, they kept the XLM trust live this whole time. So XLM gets the free pass. Jed McCaleb gets the free pass. That's a very interesting deal. Jed McCaleb's not mentioned in the Ripple lawsuit. How does that happen? Jed McCaleb not mentioned, Arthur Brito not mentioned. But Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson were sued, right? Along with Ripple. Our breakthrough moment is here. Our go viral moment is here. Today in the news, Bloomberg Crypto is covering it. XRP Trust, XRP Fund is going live, moving XRP up 9% on the day. Now, when you go back and you look at XRP price today, it did move up to about 589. Funny enough, back up to 589 for XRP. We're back down at 56, but we have not broken out yet, right? I'm looking at a daily chart here. I'm zoomed in. When you zoom out, even on the weekly chart, we need to see a breakthrough that 62 cent level. That 62, 65 cent region is going to come in as resistance. But if we can break through that 65, right, we went all the way up to nearly 66 cents on July 31st. That was the rally after the July 4th dump, all the way down to 38 cents for XRP. So XRP goes up to 589 today on the news, back down, and we're still within our range. Nothing exciting. But the point being is that Bloomberg Crypto, mainstream news, mainstream crypto bros are about to be pumping XRP harder than I ever could. BitBoy is back talking about XRP. Everybody's back talking about XRP. Everybody's bullish on XRP again. And this is why I'm sitting back saying, sounds good. Welcome to the party. Let's get you caught up to speed. A lot of these guys want the XRP attention. They know nothing about XRP. They know nothing about the lawsuit. They know nothing about the real developments and partnerships with Ripple. They know nothing about the capabilities and utility on the XRP ledger. They don't even know that we have NFTs, literally. But welcome aboard. Let's get you caught up to speed. Welcome on board the train. It's going to be time to strap in here because we're about to take off. You guys know we're about to take off. That's why you're getting on board. That's why you're trying to tell your community. The biggest influencers in the space now coming back to XRP. XRP is going to be sexy again. Make XRP attractive again. Oh, it's going to be attractive. It's not just going to be little retail guy and gal. It's going to be Wall Street. Accredited, institutional, getting the protections of the SEC. Congratulations, SEC, doing incredible work. Serving up fines to Keurig. Serving up a settlement to eToro, trying to pretend that their opinion is law. Their opinion is not law. Your opinion is not law. Bill Hinman's speech is not law. We understand that the ETH free pass is still going on, and we understand that the ETH free pass is a fraud bigger than FTX. We're not supposed to talk about it. Mainstream crypto bros will never talk about that one. Cuts too hard into their own checks because they were pumping and dumping the ETH token factory. That was their business model. Keep on churning those tokens. Keep on taking those shield checks. Where are they at now? Doing karate, doing Pokemon channels. I digress. Let's go into Q&A. I don't need to speak on it. Over here, we're going to stay positive. We're going to stay focused. We ask ourselves, how is your program working out? Like I said, I missed the gold train. I'm not always winning. We're taking some step backs, getting stronger, and continuing to push forward. We are not relenting. Our thesis is still intact. Dennis says right here, someone has an item on XRP Ledger with Trump listed as currency. Yeah, folks can list whatever they want. Folks can list these wallets whatever you want. Let's go rapid fire Q&A. Drop the comments, questions down below. Charles says the SEC won't appeal, in my opinion. If they don't, that could be a catalyst for sure that pushes us up. I'd hate to throw out targets. You know, we really have some big targets to get through. We have some big resistance to get through. We got a lot of folks that'd be happy to sell $1 XRP, believe it or not. Crazy. I know. There's a lot of people looking. We won't be distracted. Pokemon channels. That's right. Nothing against Pokemon. I used to be into Pokemon. I used to love Pokemon. Let's go Q&A here while we're looking at some of these markets. 58,000 for Bitcoin. 2,350 for Ethereum. It's been interesting to watch Flare. I'm looking at this one, and I like the utility. I like the focus on data. They're running behind on their developments. F assets are still just now starting to go live. And so I want to see more from Flare. But I've been watching it closely. XDC, finding a bottom down here. 2 cents. Trading at 2.5 cents right now. Algorand at 13 cents. These utility coins have just been smacked. This chart is just amazing right here. This gold chart. Last year, we went all the way back down. It's just incredible. We just got beat up, chopping sideways. We'd run it up, they'd beat us up. We'd run it up, they'd beat us up. And what's happened here? We've broken out into a new reality. This thing has soared. That's just a beautiful chart right there. My first video game was Pong, and that was 1975. Well, that's back in the day there. Yeah. Yeah, I remember, gaming tough. I remember the first time I played Halo. For me, I was all into Halo, and then Call of Duty, and then the last game that I played was Battlefield. I like Battlefield because it was the most realistic. Never played Fortnite. I don't like, I like clean graphics. I like realistic games. I used to play a lot of sports when I was younger. So, of course, I played all the Maddens, all the sports, but I put the gaming away a long time ago, back when I started my business. Gave up the gaming. And that's been one of the best decisions I ever made. I wish I would have done it sooner. But, yeah. I get too into things, and so I was gaming tough. I probably could have a gaming channel, right? Fire up the sticks, do some live streaming gaming. I was pretty good. I will say that. I was pretty good at the quick scopes on Call of Duty. But now I focus on making money and spending time with the family exclusively. You're spot on, Zach. I watch a lot of influencers, and so many are talking XRP now out of nowhere. They're fair weather fans, and they want to get on the record. They're starting to see anybody who's being honest and not completely biased against XRP can take a look at the TA, it's there. Can take a look at the fundamentals, it's there. Can take a look at the legal, if you want to do due diligence on the legal aspect of cryptos and the legal standing of cryptos, which nobody does, right? Nobody does legal due diligence on crypto investments besides us. With our red folders, we get made fun of. We get called crazy. XLM. Yes. Yeah. Stu says gaming is going to be massive. Yeah. Boy, If we had just a few bucks for every time somebody said they had the next great blockchain game, and I know you want to talk about it. Don't get me started on the blockchain gaming. Don't get me started on the blockchain gaming. When is Silver made a move too? How about this one? I didn't realize that Silver pumped up and touched $30 today too. Boy, we've been talking about this recently. How much longer were we going to get to buy sub 30 Silver? Which with the premiums, and then if you got to order them online and you pay delivery, right? Or even if you're just going down to your local dealer with prices at 28, right? 29, after your premium, you're still paying over $30 per ounce to acquire the metal. So we've been asking the question, how many more opportunities, how much longer are we going to get to stack sub $30 silver? Beautiful chart here. Set up and ready. What's crazy is that there's actually still room to go. When you look at gold, it's on like a 40-year cup and handle, and so is silver, right? Gold's broken out of the cup and it's going, right? The cup and handle and then the breakout, it's going. Silver's, it's like a 40-year cup and handle. It's just incredible. Dennis says, I like Oliver Michael of Tokens used to work on Frankfurt Exchange. He says 3 to 5 digit XRP soon. Oliver Michael, he actually followed me on X after he went viral, right? We all shared his stuff, right? I don't know if it was Digital Asset Investor that originally found that interview, but I know that I shared Digital Asset Investors clips. And once again, nobody's allowed to talk like that in our our media, right? In our financial media, nobody's allowed to get that bullish about XRP. God, no. Nobody's even allowed to talk about XRP on our financial media. No, on a news outlet equivalent of our CNBC over there in Germany, you get this Oliver Michael, who runs a hedge fund, I believe, over there, or some investment fund. Guys talking about 3 and 5 digit XRP just casually on their CNBC. And I've seen him lurking actually in the spaces. I mean, he could be watching the show. Not only do I have the pressure of knowing that I got, all you guys watching me live, right? But then I also think about, oh my gosh, is David Schwartz watching tonight? Is Brad, who's watching tonight from Ripple? Who's watching tonight? Shout out to Oliver. Maybe I could get Oliver on the show. Why? I should have reached out to him by now. We should get Oliver on the show. I don't know if he speaks English, but maybe we could do a translation or something. Maybe we could figure something out. Wouldn't that be something? Dennis, thank you for the chat, though. Huge shout, yeah. Oliver, he's right there. Used to work on the Frankfurt Exchange, absolutely. Been watching his LinkedIn. Yep, they do watch. They love it. I think about that every time I put their face on my thumbnail. I'm like, oh gosh, I hope they approve. I put up nice pictures. I don't do any crazy pictures. And I tried to do that even for Janet, Notel, and Yellen, for Kamala, for Trump, for Gary Gensler. Okay, my Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren pic that I got is pretty funny. But hey, it's a picture that's commonly, it just represents, right? In a video that's about Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren, there just happens to be a great picture of them together. It's just, I think they look pretty good in the picture, actually. Stu says they're always watching. Those guys are billionaires already. I doubt they watch YouTube. Yeah, no, but so, regardless, the point being, these guys are not talking about this publicly. I got to, gotta be careful what I say here. So I got to take a look at Raoul Pal. You guys know Raoul Pal, right? He's the one that said, don't F this up, right? He went viral for saying that in regards to crypto, us going into the next bull run. Don't F this up, right? Raoul Pal, big hedge fund guy. He got a document sent to him, and I got to take a look at it on XRP. Full breakdown of everything about XRP. and the bullish thesis for XRP. And not a bullish thesis on XRP going to 10,000. A bullish thesis on XRP just going to some conservative numbers, like, $10 or something. 10, 20 bucks. Nothing crazy. But I got to read that paper. Got it sent to me by the person who wrote it. And this is what they don't mention publicly, right? Raoul Pal calls the XRP community crazy. Meanwhile, he already got a few years ago. This was a few years ago now, guys. I've totally forgot about this. And recently when I've been covering Raoul Pal, I totally forgot to mention this. That Raoul Pal received this breakdown thesis on XRP years ago. And he might have even looked into it before then. This is just something that I know he got a few years ago. And so you got this guy, Oliver, right, who comes on to their mainstream news talking about 3 and 5 digit XRP casually. There's a different conversation that's going on behind the scenes. See, R3 is going... How does R3 explain itself going around? They have to admit, it's public. We all know that they tried to get 5 billion XRP. How do you explain yourself? Because we're being told that nobody wants XRP. There's no interest in XRP, right? How does R3 explain itself when it sits down with business partners? If they were so crazy for looking at XRP, how do they explain themselves? Yeah, that was us. Yeah, we did try to get 5 billion XRP. We ended up, in a lawsuit with Ripple, and we had to settle for 1 billion XRP. We weren't able to get the full 5 billion. But, we've got some other options contracts over here that we've been able to execute with Ripple recently. Or we've been able to accumulate more XRP since, or maybe they've dumped XRP for all I know. Right? We hear that they have not, that they have interest in XRP. And a lot of interest in XRP that they're not talking about publicly. Once again, this is how this game has been set up here. And I think that XRP is about to move so hard to the upside. It's going to be nuts. And this is why I've been harping on the exit strategy right now, or being prepared to reallocate, because it's not just XRP, it's other utility cryptos that will follow. XLM will probably follow with XRP. Other cryptocurrencies still have bullish fundamentals as well. You guys accumulate more cryptos than I do. I don't really stack that many cryptos. I have a few, and I have more than a few, but relatively speaking, as far as position size, I only have a few with considerable positions. And, I'm very content with that. But when we go through this next bull run, I think that's going to happen so quickly, and it's going to be another speculative bull run. And yes, I do believe that prices will come back down and they will stabilize. That's going to be the big question, is where do we, go up to, and then where do we come back down? If we all knew that, we'd all be trillionaires. We get to find out here. But what I don't think anybody's ready for is how violent it's going to be. And when you get Wall Street and a whole party basically going on for XRP, everybody's pumping it up. Everybody's talking about XRP, just like we've seen with Solana, just like we've seen with Ethereum. But the difference between XRP and these other, Ethereum, Solana, these have been pumped up, and the developers were able to build out smart contracts, products on these blockchains, right? Businesses on these blockchains. That's now happening for the XRP ledger. We didn't have that last bull run during 2021. We just got NFTs, and we had a token hype cycle in 2021 when everybody did start to figure out, oh crap, we can launch tokens on the XRP ledger in minutes at no cost, essentially. It's basically just free to do it. And we had a hype cycle of tokens issued on the XRP ledger, over 9,000 tokens. Many of them scams with no utility, just like the rest of crypto. But we haven't seen nothing yet. See, what's going to come is going to be, the volumes of flows that we've seen on Solana is what we need to accomplish. And then we need to surpass it. What I want to see for Ripple is to accomplish what Tether has done and then surpass it. And if you think for 1 second that BlackRock is going to sit around and allow Tether to make more profit than them, I think that we're about to see something very interesting happen with Tether. They might survive. They might be acquired. See, this is where this gets interesting. There's no way. There's no way. You want to talk about deals behind the scenes? You want to talk about real conversations behind the scenes? How this world really works at the top levels of our financial markets in Wall Street? If you think that Larry Fink is fine just chilling while Tether, a little crypto startup with less than 100 employees, is making more profit than BlackRock, you think he's going to allow that to continue? And where this gets interesting, now, like I said, I think that Tether can have its moment and XRP can still go acquire a portion, a piece of the pie of the stablecoin market that's going to grow into the trillions. And we know this. The reports have been shared. Everybody knows. Very conservative estimates take us to 3 trillion by 27 or 28. So we're coming. Ripple's arriving at the perfect time. We're getting decentralized identity. We're getting permission dexes. We're getting on-chain lending. We're getting all these new utilities, the AMM that we just got, at the perfect time. Decentralized identity, I'm excited about that one. It preserves the ethos of cryptocurrency, privacy, not necessarily anonymity, but basically permissioned access to credentials. That's what DID is going to bring about, is permissioned access to your credentials where you get to control what the counterparty, the other person gets from you in a transaction, in an interaction on the XRP ledger. If they need your name, they'll get your name, but they won't get your address and everything else. Think about your documents that you share that folks can look at, right? When you go to get access, when you young bucks go to the drinking establishment, right? You serve up your ID. It's not just your age on there. There's your address on there, your full name on there, right? We move to a world where, in a decentralized world, if I need to provide a credential, access, entry, my age, whatever it's going to be, maybe whether, I'll let you guys think of New World Order 1984 scenarios. I'm not going to list off any here. You think about where this could go, right? But what I want to see on the XRP ledger is, the control being in, the individual, right? Individual privacy being respected while bringing about compliance in a way that brings compliance to the ledger while still respecting our privacy. That's what's coming to the XRP ledger, along with all of the other amendments and utilities and smart contracts being built around the XRP ledger and potentially bringing programmability to our native layer 1. It's being talked about. Will it happen? That's yet to be seen. It would take a while for XRP ledger to integrate any sort of hooks, smart contracts. But what we do know is going live is the EVM sidechain. What we do know is live is all of these other networks around the XRP ledger like Flare, Corium, others. I think BlackRock moves their treasury token to XRP ledger because of Acceler and RLUSD. Dennis. It's very interesting. So these funds are just now starting to be created, and BlackRock, yes, they do have a massive fund there of tokenized treasuries. And you're seeing Franklin Templeton, they've already built up and they're going on 30 plus blockchains. That's how these institutions are going to show up. And where they need to make acquisitions, like in a case of a Tether, right? You could see the perfect scenario. Huge lawsuit, huge deal with Tether, and then they get acquired by a BlackRock or a JP Morgan, which acquires them, or maybe they just get taken out, and then JP Morgan gets to issue their own stablecoin, right? And BlackRock is already issuing their treasury tokens, right? These institutions are showing up, and we haven't seen nothing yet, right? They're still in the hundreds of millions for the tokenized treasuries. excuse me, we have not even reached billions of dollars in tokenized treasuries yet. Think of how early we are. Now, maybe accumulatively, we've crossed the $1 billion mark. Maybe somebody can fact check me. But the total amount of treasuries and T-bills that have been tokenized isn't more than a billion or so. We are still so early. Now, initially, folks are confused here. They hear that the stablecoin is going to be going to, the stablecoin is only going to be offered for accredited and institutional investors, Ripple stablecoin. But this is how Circle and Tether work as well, where they issue, the tokens get issued to exchanges, and then the exchanges give them to, access to retail investors. So I do expect us to eventually be able to get access to RLUSD, but initially it will only be for institutions, and then eventually maybe they will be listing it on exchanges. I suspect that they will. I mean, it only makes sense, right? But who's Ripple going to be working with directly, right? It's going to be exchanges, and then it's going to be their institutional partners that want access to RLUSD. So institutions and banks and partners of Ripple can get access to RLUSD, and then Ripple will eventually have deals with the exchanges that will make RLUSD available for the public retail investor. And that's going to be my choice. And what I hope to see too is that they add it to the AMM liquidity pools. If they add 1 billion XRP and 1 billion RLUSD to a liquidity pool, right, that gets pretty interesting. You take our AMM from 13 million to over $1 billion in total value lockup. You want to talk about a real flip of the switch? That would be a considerable one. That would be a considerable move. I just got here. Do you think this move from Grayscale with XRP Trust is a sign that the SEC won't appeal? No, I don't. I don't. I think that they know that even if the appeal goes through, the law of the land as it stands right now is that XRP in and of itself is not a security. So they're probably in a position of, we think that it's clear on XRP. We're going to fire it up. And if we do need to delist down the road, well, we'll have time to make some money in the meantime. I wouldn't look into it too much further than that. I mean, the SEC definitely still can't appeal. That option is still available. Gary Gensler, maybe he wants to be remembered just like Jay Clayton for, on his way out, issuing an appeal to Ripple. Now, I say Gary Gensler on his way out because we know that Trump says he's going to fire Gary Gensler. And, there's even some talks that Kamala would replace Gary. I don't know how true that is, but I think there's a lot of people within, on the left or Democrats that want Kamala to say, right, a lot of folks, Democrats that are in the cryptocurrency space, they want Kamala to say that she's going to maybe replace Gary Gensler or criticize the SEC in any sort of form or fashion. Well, Trump is saying no tax on tips, no tax on OT, and we're going to build out DeFi and we're going to leave the banksters behind. How does she catch up? How does she catch up to that? And I don't think that there's any truth or consideration actually being made by her campaign to talk about removing Gary Gensler. I don't. And I've never believed the statements there of the whole crypto reset either. That was a big joke. Yes, banks and exchanges can break down for their own ledgers. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that anytime they'll be able to tap into the public nets as well, or the public pools as well. You never sell your XRP, you stake it. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of people that ask me, well, what about staking XRP? What about putting your XRP, in a platform that's going to generate yield? I can't wait. I really cannot wait. But I'm going to be doing some of the most strict and thorough due diligence on anybody that's trying to offer me yield for my XRP. Because right now, you can get yield on your XRP by providing your XRP to the liquidity pools. At times, you may experience impermanent loss. It's not all just gains. You can lose money. But the idea is to use the ledger in a decentralized way to generate yield One way that that's being achieved is right now through the AMM. And then eventually there will be other ways, on-chain lending. And then there's going to be plenty of platforms. There's already people that are offering yield on your XRP. Now you have to ask, just like with any DeFi platform, where is the yield being generated from? I was not popular during the DeFi bubble of 2021 when yield farming was the big craze and the big hype. It was DeFi, it was yield farming, and it was 80,000% returns being offered by the likes of Time Wonderland, all the way to 5,000% APY, all the way down into the hundreds of hundreds of percent of APY. And then you had me that was saying these were all going to go to zero. And they did. But at the time, it was not popular. And at the time, I rejected every single project that tried to offer me tokens. And that played out perfectly. Now, there are platforms that are still around that offer yield. Ethereum brought about yield through their staking now, moving to proof of stake. They're offering a yield, right? So there's a lot of ways to generate yield. You can get 5% on your 3-month T-bill. When you can get 5% on cash, the conversation has to start at 5%, right? To make any sort of consideration, when you can stay liquid in T-bills, 3-month duration, you have to start the conversation there. I also like to consider in inflation. We know that inflation's 5, 10, maybe more. And so when I'm looking at yield, when I'm looking at a return, and in particular, a passive income type of scenario, a passive income type of yield, which some folks don't want to call the AMM passive, that's fine. If you want to get lost on the technical nuance and definitions about whether it's passive or not, it's not hard labor. So as far as I'm concerned, it might as well be considered passive. I hit a couple buttons on my phone and I'm staking in a liquidity pool. Pretty dang passive. Now, I get why they don't technically call it passive, is because you're delegating your assets to the pool and you're making your assets work for you, and you do expose them to impermanent loss. But it's working while you're sleeping. That's about as passive as it gets as far as I'm concerned. Now, of course, it's going to be taxed differently, not as passive income or potentially as ordinary income, depending on where you're at on the tax bracket situation. Please consult with your tax professional, right? But when it comes to generating yield, I'm looking at all opportunities right now. There's real estate funds that we're offering, 10, 15, 20%. There's been all sorts of platforms that are offering yield on crypto all across the board. And my thing is that we're in the middle of a global margin call. We get to see who's swimming naked, and it's going to be unsightly. It's not going to be pretty. But the good part is that we get to see who's swimming naked, and I mean that in that we get to see who's for real, who actually can generate sustainable yield. Because a lot of people are talking about generating yield. A lot of people are hypothesizing about how they're going to generate yield. Right now, that's what I'm doing in regards to the generating yield on the XRP ledger, is I'm hypothesizing about how on-chain lending might work. I'm delegating to the AMMs and figuring out how that's working in real time. AMM updates on the way. Make sure you guys have subscribed and hit the notification bell. Going to provide an update on whether or not I've been making money on the AMM. And so, one, I look at what Ripple's offering with standard custody. Now, they're called Ripple Custody, is the basically the department at Ripple is called Ripple Custody. The product is called Ripple Custody, and it combines Medico's technology. It does not include PolySign Atomic Net technology, as we now have come to find out that PolySign is basically gone to zero. And that's a very sad, unfortunate situation there. But they acquired Medico, but they acquired Standard Custody was the other acquisition that they made, so that they have the trust company in New York. Now, the ability to have collateral, or the ability to have your assets or institutional custody provided by Ripple with that license there in New York with a trust company that doesn't lend out against your deposits, and is also backstopped by an institution in Ripple that has over $20 billion worth of XRP on top of their cash, on top of the expanding business that they have with custody being a most recently introduced product and service, and the stablecoin business now being introduced with over $1 billion cash and over $20 billion XRP. That's a nice institution to be working with. Now think about this. When Ripple's able to offer, I think that they haven't even, they're just getting started with what they're going to be able to offer. And they showed you guys a little example. In the most recent announcement there in Asia, Ripple announced that they were going to be offering custody for Futureverse. Futureverse is a project focused on gaming, I think AI and a couple other different things. And they have the root network that uses XRP as a gas token over there. Very interesting concept. Another like sidechain connected to XRP essentially, where XRP, the currency, is used as a gas token on that network. And so Ripple just announced that they're going to be providing custody solutions for that XRP Ledger project. Ripple showing you where this goes, where they're going to be offering their products and services potentially as they come available, as the laws get passed and the legislation gets passed so that they can stay within compliance. They'll be offering these services to XRP Ledger projects, businesses and institutions that want to bring real-world assets to the XRP Ledger. You're talking about tokenized real estate, gold, commodities, equities, and everything else that can be tokenized. Ripple can offer custody. Ripple can offer pairing with those assets in the RLUSD stablecoin. You want to build a liquidity pool between RLUSD and your tokenized real estate that's represented by a token on the XRP Ledger. We can create that liquidity pool. We can have your collateral stored at our trust company where we don't lend out against deposits like the banking system does. I wonder who is going to leave the banks behind when Trump makes statements like leaving the banks behind. Ripple's trying to reach out their hand. The train has left the station, Rosie Rios leading the way, and Ripple's back here still reaching out their hand saying, come on board. We'll bring you on up. We got a deal for you. Come sit across the table. We got XRP at zero cost basis. We are helping to build out an XRP ledger that's going to allow you to do anything that you want to do with blockchain, seamlessly tied into our products like custody and establishing liquidity pools with pairing up with RLUSD. There's no one else in the space coming close from XRP the asset, XRP the ledger, and Ripple the business. It's a trifecta. XRP is a reserve currency, a neutral bridge currency that's as liquid as a G10 currency, right? And the rest of Ripple's business. Now, I see this comment though that I wanted to address real quick before I miss it. Any idea when the XRP documentary will be released? I want to talk about this. The XRP documentary is going to be the pre-screening, and the dates will all be announced after the appeal window closes. So hopefully we don't get an appeal, SEC versus Ripple. Hopefully we don't get the appeal. October 6th or 7th is that date. And so shortly thereafter, they will be announcing. We already know which cities the pre-screening will take place in. LA, Phoenix, Boston. I think there's going to be one in Florida, a couple other places, where the documentary will be showed in private screenings at theaters across the country. And then shortly thereafter, it will be released on Amazon, Hulu, and the other streaming platforms. And it's going to be in November. That's what we know. We don't know the firm date, but we know it's November. So the announcement will come after the appeal window closes, and then it's set to be released sometime in November, probably after the election. So it's going to be very interesting. The appeal window will be closed. The election will have happened. XRP documentary is going live. Where will XRP price be at? Who knows? How viral will the XRP documentary go? That's up to us. That's up to us getting the word out. Why would they use XRP and not RLUSD? Because folks want US dollars represented on the XRP ledger. Folks want access to US dollars for stablecoins, domestic payments, for other use cases. We need stablecoins on the XRP ledger. I mean, when you look, Circle has issued USDC on all of the major blockchains, and they continue to issue on new chains that come up, right? This builds out liquidity for Circle, but it's happening on all these different networks. Now with Ripple and their stablecoin, they're going to be issuing on the XRP ledger and Ethereum. So some liquidity will go to Ethereum, right? But the main reason that they're doing that is because they have the EVM sidechain and they want to have that interoperability as well. So it's about interoperability and onboarding. That's what RLUSD is about. And XRP is not needed in every use case. That's what RLUSD is about. But inherently, RLUSD needs XRP to run across the XRP ledger. Every transaction on the XRP ledger burns XRP. So inherently, RLUSD does need XRP. And it does not remove the need for XRP fulfilling the role as a bridge currency. Because when you go to RLUSD to RL Euro, you're going to be using XRP and burning XRP. All right, guys, it's been over an hour and a half tonight, guys. I appreciate you guys so much. I do need to conclude this session here tonight. Had a lot of fun with you guys. Ran it up. Hope you guys appreciated the session, and we will be back tomorrow, so make sure you guys stay tuned for more. Big updates coming up here. I appreciate you guys. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Everything is at my website, zachrector.com. All of our community resources, I got them linked up in the description of the YouTube video below. Make sure you guys check those out. And I appreciate you guys for liking the video, helping me share out the content, stopping by and spending the time with me tonight. Drop in good comments, questions, and leading to a hopefully enjoyable conversation for everybody viewing tonight. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. God bless you all. Thank you so much.